Christina Rossetti's Goblin Market is perhaps one of my favorite literary texts to teach because it so strongly demonstrates how the context of art and the perceptions of a reader can significantly change the meaning of a text. Remember that there's never one meaning, no one single answer to a text, because meaning is dependent on the reader, context, and variables that are constantly in flux. Always keep an open mind when reading literature. So in this lecture, I am going to talk about Goblin Market primarily as a Christian allegory, but I'd also like to briefly examine it under the lenses of both feminist and queer theory, which is going to dramatically transform the text. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Whitney Kosters, and I have been a professor of English for the past 2 decades, but I've only recently begun to publish my lectures here on YouTube. So if you enjoy listening to audiobooks and analyses of classic literature, then be sure to stick around, like, share, and subscribe so that together we can partake in and contribute to the cultural conversations surrounding these works. And Goblin Market is definitely one that's been at the center of many discussions since its publication in 1862. In this poem, 2 sisters, Lizzie and Laura, live happily together, but when Laura can no longer resist the temptation to buy and eat fruit from villainous goblins, she falls gravely ill and is saved only by her sister Lizzie, who withstands abuse and assault at the hands of the goblins in order to access the fruit that her sister needs to recover. In the end, both sisters thrive away from the prying hands of the goblins. From the very beginning, we learn that young, innocent girls are surrounded by these strange, monstrous goblins who tempt them day and night with beautiful, luscious, delicious fruits. Come buy, they say, a transactional saying that also implies come buy, as they try to lure these women in as physically near to them as possible. But the maidens who are in no need for what the goblins are selling know better. As we are told, Laura bowed her head to hear. Lizzie veiled her blushes. Crouching close together with clasping arms and cautioning lips, we must not look at goblin men. We must not buy their fruits. Who knows upon what soil they fed their hungry, thirsty roots? So just as we seek to know exactly who these goblin men are, so too do the maidens. And it is their mysterious nature that renders them so frightening. There's something sinister, monstrous, Darwinian about them. And note that they are all male yet animalistic in nature. One is described as having a cat's face, one a tail, one is like a wombat, one tramps at a rat's pace, one crawls like a snail. And they are heavily associated with commerce, production, commodities, promotion, and transactions. And it seems the more Laura hears and peeks and sees, the more her curiosity is piqued. And as she encourages her sister to look in the goblin's direction, Lizzie reminds her, no, their offer should not charm us. Their evil gifts would harm us. She thrust a dimpled finger in each ear, shut eyes, and ran. Lizzie's reaction suggests that seeing or hearing desire can incite it. The question then becomes, is listening or looking perhaps tantamount to doing? And it may seem so, as Laura, the one who looks, who hears, lingers, wondering at each merchant man. And as she stretches her gleaming neck, meaning as she looks even more, we are told that her last restraint was gone. Approaching the goblins, Laura tells them that she has no money. I have no coin to take word of purloin. I have no copper in my purse. I have no silver either. And all my gold is on the furze that shakes in windy weather above the rusty heather. But Laura misunderstands the nature of this transaction, for the goblins do not care for money. You have much gold upon your head, they say. Buy from us with a golden curl. It is in this exchange that the goblin's sinister nature becomes clear. In requesting that she pay with her body, they objectify, exploit, and commodify the female body, and in doing so, take from her her innocence that she for so long protected. And when she clips a precious golden lock, we are told that she dropped a tear more rare than pearl. In other words, Laura knows the gravity of her decision. In essence, she willingly sells herself in favor of satisfying what will become an insatiable desire. This is an implication of female sexuality and female desire for knowledge. It is no accident, I think, that these goblin men are animalistic in nature. Like the serpent who tempts innocent Eve in the book of Genesis with the forbidden fruit, so too do the goblin men tempt innocent maidens with a marketplace full of fruit. The temptations have grown exponentially, and like Eve, Laura gives into temptation, losing her innocence, and now she must face the consequences of her actions. When Laura returns home, her sister reminds her that it's dangerous to be out in the evening, reminding her of Jeannie, a girl who did not resist the goblins' temptations, ate their fruits, and died. The implication is that the loss of innocence will lead to death for these maidens. I mean, look at how these women are described in this text. They are pure, innocent, and unknowing. They really do live in the protective, ignorant bliss that both Adam and Eve experienced in the Garden of Eden prior to eating the fruit. We are told that Laura and Lizzie are like two pigeons in one nest, folded in each other's wings. They lay down in their curtained bed, like two blossoms on one stem, like two flakes of new and fallen snow, like two wands of ivory tipped with gold for awful kings, cheek to cheek and breast to breast, locked together in one nest. Something you should note about these women is they are clearly self-sufficient, milking cows, fetching honey, kneading cakes, churning butter, whipping up cream, feeding their poultry. There's no need for the goblins' fruit. The women survive and are wholly independent of the marketplace and its monstrous sellers, and they shall remain innocent and pure and good without them. But we know that Lizzie has consumed the fruit in exchange for her body and now craves it, seeks it, desires it. Waiting and listening for the goblins' cries, Laura turns cold as stone to find her sister heard that cry alone, that goblin cry, "Come buy our fruits, come buy." Must she then buy no more such dainty fruit? Must she no more such succulous pasture find, gone deaf and blind? Her tree of life drooped from the root. She said not one word in the heart's sore ache, but peering through the dimness, not discerning, trudged home, her pitcher dripping all the way. So crept to bed and lay silent till Lizzie slept, then sat up in a passionate yearning and gnashed her teeth for balked desire and wept as if her heart would break. Now, why do you think she can't hear the goblin sales pitch anymore? Why do you think they no longer want to tempt her? It may have something to do with the fact that she already gave into the desire, already gave up her virginity, and that being her only value is now rendered useless to them. They will now prey on new victims. But that's not the only consequence. Laura suffers anxiety, guilt, fear, and need. She begins to fall severely ill, acting much like an addict in severe withdrawals, withering away, bordering on Jenny's fate. Alarmed at her sister's state, Lizzie seeks out the goblins in order to save her. But unlike Laura, Lizzie engages in an entirely different type of transaction with the goblins, grabbing a silver penny on her way out. Inviting her to sit and feast with them, hugging and kissing her, squeezing and caressing her, the goblins are delighted that she has come. But Lizzie is here to do business with them on equal grounds, refusing to objectify herself. She tosses them her penny, saying, "If you will not sell me any of your fruits through much and many, give me back my silver penny." Resisting their temptations and coaxing, Lizzie demonstrates self-respect, strength, and independence, and it is at this point that the goblins become extremely angry. They grunt and snarl and scratch their pates. One calls her proud, cross-grained, uncivil, and they begin to assault her, if not rape her. They tear her gown and soil her stocking, twitch her hair out by the roots, stamp upon her tender feet, hold her hands, and squeeze their fruits against her mouth to make her eat. But we are told, white and golden Lizzie stood, like a lily in a flood, like a rock of blue-veined stone, lashed by tides obstreperously, like a beacon left alone in a hoary, roaring sea. No matter what they do to her, Lizzie utters not a word, would not open lip from lip lest they should cram a mouthful in. And it is Lizzys Resistance that eventually completely wears the goblins down, kicking back her penny and vanishing into the distance. So even though they do harm her, she ultimately remains unviolated. And what I mean by that is they can't harm her to the degree that they have harmed her sister because she does not consent to the desire that will ultimately undo her. Lizzie remains pure and good and true to her convictions. Now, while Laura represents Eve in the book of Genesis, Lizzie is clearly a Christ figure. After all, Christ is known for categorically resisting temptation. Remember that Jesus is tempted by the devil for 40 days and nights in the desert. There are 3 attempts made by the devil, and every time, no matter what is promised, Jesus resists, citing scripture instead. And much like Christ, Lizzie pays for the sins of others. As Christ walks to his crucifixion, he is shamed and abused on the Via Dolorosa. He is spat on, kicked, whipped, mocked, and eventually crucified for our sins, not his, just as Lizzie is pinched, kicked, mauled, and mocked by the goblins for not her sins, but her sister's. After being attacked, Lizzie runs to her sister and says, "Laura, come and kiss me. Never mind my bruises. Hug me, kiss me, suck my juices. Squeeze from goblin fruits for you, goblin pulp and goblin dew. Eat me, drink me, love me. Laura, make much of me. For your sake I have braved the glen and had to do with goblin merchant men." Now, this scene strikes many students as strange. Why must Laura feed off her sister in such a literal way? Well, if we continue to read this poem as a Christian allegory, then this scene is representative of the Eucharist. Remember that Christians who partake of communion or the Eucharist believe that they are eating the body and blood of Christ, thereby bringing about unity with him. This is Laura's salvation. It is our salvation, Rossetti is saying. Just as the Eucharist is likened to spiritual food that nourishes the soul, the fruit, as it's presented on Lizzie's body, revitalizes and heals Laura. And Laura's reaction is intense to say the least. Her lips began to scorch, that juice was wormwood to her tongue. She loathed the feast, writhing as one possessed. She leaped and sung, rent all her robe, and wrung her hands in lamentable haste, and beat her breast. Laura can eat this fruit and be healed from it because she no longer eats out of temptation and desire, but out of total and pure love. Unlike Jeannie, Lizzie is healed, and the goblins are no longer an element that affects these women anymore. We're told that both became wives with children of their own, and that these mothers warned their children of the goblins' fruits, like honey to the throat, but poison in the blood. Ultimately, they have a very happily ever after ending. Now, this is significant because through Goblin Market, Rossetti is arguing for the redemption of what was known as a fallen woman, a woman who had compromised her sexual purity outside of marriage. Gender roles and social customs in the Victorian period defined morals and values and condemned and shamed women who had acted outside such strict boundaries. And what you should know is that at this time, once a fallen woman, always a fallen woman, there was really little to no opportunity to redeem oneself after this. Many fallen women were outcasted or abandoned by family and were often considered unmarriageable. Rossetti, who had charitably worked with fallen women, hoped to change this stigma. She believed that women deserved a second chance, which is why, unlike Jeannie, Laura recovers and is given the opportunity to live happily in the end. Her sin is not irrevocable because through Christian love, anything is redeemable. And that is, of course, why it's so important to read this poem through a Christian lens to get that meaning. However, as I have always emphasized in my literature classes, the author's intent does not determine a categorical meaning of a text. And if you haven't seen my lecture on Bart's The Death of the Author, please watch it to further understand that statement, and I'll link it below for you. So as I've already shown you, we can read Goblin Market as a Christian allegory. I mean, there's plenty of textual evidence to support it. But there's also room to read it through a feminist lens. There seems to be something very problematic with the male-dominated world, or patriarchal structures, if you will, represented in their most grotesque form through these goblins that are neither men nor animals. The public sphere which they inhabit is dangerous, seedy, and full of vice, desire, commodities, and temptation, and it's clearly a place where innocence is lost and women can be undone. It is a world full of the unknown. And even in the end, the sisters are married, but the husbands never make an appearance. All we are told is both were wives with children of their own. And instead of turning to their husbands for protection from these goblin men, sisterhood is the focal point throughout the poem, as we are reminded, for there is no friend like a sister, in calm or stormy weather, to cheer one of the tedious way, to fetch one if one goes astray, to lift one if one totters down, to strengthen whilst one stands. Ultimately, it seems that women need women in order to survive and be happy. And so you can do with that interpretation what you will. But perhaps one of the most fascinating interpretations of this poem, in my opinion at least, is found when you read it through queer theory. Now, queer theory came about in the late 20th century, and it was actually a reaction to feminist theory in that it didn't want to associate women and men with essential traits. Think about the stereotypes associated with men and women. Men are supposed to be strong, rugged, powerful, dominant, aggressive, and lack emotional sensitivity, whereas women are expected to show a lot of emotional sensitivity and are stereotyped as quiet, submissive, pure, etc. Queer theory breaks down those binaries by arguing that everything is performative, which means nothing is certain or stable. That means you can be a woman but perform the stereotypical traits of a man, which calls into question the essence of a woman. Essentially, nothing is what it seems because everything is always in flux. Everything is fluid. So queer theory destabilizes the most traditional or conventional ways of interpretation. So let me ask you, while you were reading Goblin Market, did you ever feel like there were some strange sexual innuendos in this poem? Many people do, but they don't want to admit it. Well, it's a pretty common reading, though people can't quite articulate why that interpretation is. In 1973, however, Goblin Market, Rossetti's Christian Allegory, was published in the pages of Playboy. Think about what the context of this magazine would do to how you would read this poem. You're very likely not going to think about Jesus, right? In addition, alongside the publication of the poem in Playboy were images illustrated by artist Kanuko Craft, which you can look up yourself because I don't think I can share these on YouTube. Under the lens of queer theory, how would you now read both interactions between the sisters and the goblins? How would you read the stanza that describes the Eucharist and the reaction that Laura has to the fruit taken from her sister's body? Most readers of Playboy, they never even knew this poem existed, much less knew that it was intended to be a Christian allegory that was often taught to children for many, many years. And that's the wonderful thing about literature, or really, art in general. The meaning of literature is determined by the reader and by the variables under which it's read. And as you can see, that meaning can be drastically changed depending on how the reader interprets it. This is why I love teaching literature, and this is why I love offering these lectures here on YouTube, because it suddenly brings a wide variety of people into the conversation. Reading and teaching literature never gets old because I'm not of the belief that once I've found the meaning, there's nothing more to be done with that text. My ideas and interpretations are constantly changing because of people like you who introduce me to new concepts and thoughts about books that I've been reading for years. I hope that you will always keep that in mind when you too are reading literature. Always know that it's never quite a completed task. As always, thank you so much for joining me here. Please check out some of my other lectures for more analyses as well as audiobooks. Be well and happy reading.